All right, it's live.
All right, today is Thursday, June 27th, and it is a joint curriculum and learning and policy committee meeting at Upper Hall, Conference Room 3344. As
It has been covered.
okay, thank you. We are going to actually dive into, minutes approval.
Okay.
So actually, she's gonna take over for the minutes approval for the curriculum.
Okay, so, let's see, do I have a motion for everybody to get a chance to look at them? Sarah?
Yes.
Okay. Any issues or changes?
Oh, sorry, I'll motion to approve the minutes.
All right,
I can second that.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
Thank you.
That was a good catch. Running ahead here.
So I think the first four items, policy 330, 331, 332, and 333, truthfully, we're gonna have it in just one conversation that we're just gonna strike that. And then in place of that, we're just gonna use the PRG
Yeah.
81.
So the third document, and just to help along here a little bit, and Ms. Riebel and I kind of agreed that in this particular meeting, this joint meeting, because I have personally put so much work into it, I'll kind of be the lead with everything, and obviously she's gonna be directly involved in especially the first conversation. The third document is this policy 330, if it's blue like this, that's a PRG policy, so the policy resource guide is a WASB template policy. So my recommendation, our recommendation is to start the discussion today with the four policies just mentioned by Dr. Christensen. That eventually, those policies are quite old, like in some cases 10 years old. That collection of those four policies haven't been touched in a long time, okay? So that's why we're here, that's why it's the first set. But our recommendation is to, very similar to what the WASB says, Wisconsin Association of School Boards, just to get rid of all the acronyms, and has this policy resource guide, which we are part of now, which is good. So this template, they actually only have one policy template for all of curriculum. So both Ms. Riebel and I thought that made a lot of sense. So instead of breaking things out into these four massive policies, our recommendation is to look at eliminating, that's why you see all the strikeouts in the other policies, eliminating those four policies, but making sure that we're pulling out things that we want to incorporate in what will eventually be just one curriculum policy 330, which will be based on and added to from the PRG. Okay, I mean that's the general overview.
Sounds good.
And we have some initial recommendations with respect to some of the adjustments. Now, I know I have them here and.
Okay, and I've got some copies too,
Okay, good,
so,
good.
yeah, I just went through and did some, but I think it's the same, did you make copies for everyone?
I just made
Okay.
one.
No.
No, I had copier problems.
I hate that.
Actually,
Every time I touch the copier.
So that wasn't,
It wasn't,
supposed to-
it
okay,
wasn't.
so it's now this.
So it's like
yeah,
suggestions.
this
these
is just, yeah,
are
some
like work documents.
Yeah,
small
Working,
little
yeah.
suggestions, and I just thought it might be easier if I just
Yeah, it's a catch.
shared with everybody
Yeah, so it
my,
looks like it's a huge
Thanks.
agenda, but we're just gonna talk about
Thank you.
probably four.
Yeah, if we
four
focus,
policies.
I think for
Oh,
the,
thank you.
I think for
Okay.
the start of this meeting, we're really
No, you're
focusing on those first four.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's me.
Okay.
So the first four policies, we're really looking at them comprehensively under the umbrella of 330. Ms. Riebel has done an excellent job of looking at 330 and throwing in some light recommendations for consideration just based on looking at the four policies. Ms. Riebel, why don't you?
yeah, I went through first of all in just a couple, kind of surface level things. Where it said district administrator, I changed out the
Yep.
term superintendent. There were a couple of places where it said insert relevant person here, I put my title in there. those were the big changes. And then, I guess one more substantive change, they used the term curriculum guide, which sounds to me like a bigger document than it might need to be depending on the course.
Yeah.
And I tend to use the term curricular documents, so that if it's an advanced placement statistics class that one teacher is teaching at one school, it might look a little different than early elementary literacy as far as what's required to help support teachers in the implementation of the curriculum. So I just went through everywhere it said curricular guides, and I just changed the term to curricular documents. And then we can talk about what that looks like, and I think I've showed you the kind of that master template that we were starting to use, and that, in my mind, would be one of the key pieces.
Did you get to look at our old 331, 332, and 333 to see if there was any relevant information that we wanted to bring forward at all?
I started looking at it, and as I was thinking about it, a lot of that in there I thought could be a subsequent procedure that would be a kind of a curriculum review cycle, and I've kind of mapped that out in my head,
Okay.
and would be happy to bring that to a future meeting. I just thought it would dovetail nicely with the policy, but that also with the procedure gives us a little flexibility for as we're, you know, because the process always evolves. So it would be tied to the
That's what I was actually
Ms. Rebo and I had good discussion about those 4 policies, but we liked the overarching curriculum development improvement of this PRG policy, with the understanding that when we looked at those policies, in a lot of the current teaching about policy governance and coherent governance, there's quite a push for making sure you have everything in policy that you want in policy. But some policies out in the world are actually more procedures. And that's the discussion, the very healthy discussion that Ms. Riegel and I had about those 4.
Okay.
We don't want to, there's some very good things, aspects and pullouts from each of those.
Yeah.
I would think the goal between now and the next reading, at the next policy meeting, would be to let's flush out those procedures.
Right.
And we think this is a good,
Okay.
we think this is a good overarching policy, but I think that's just based on our discussion, we just
Sure.
wanted to bring that up, even though it's struck out. There's aspects that we could definitely pull out.
I did notice that, and I did also notice how short they are compared to what we're looking at, just the comprehensive detail that is in the new policy, which I think is helpful for those guidelines.
So absolutely, and I think if you notice in the second paragraph, to the extent consistent with the remainder of this policy, the board delegates responsibility for the development, evaluation, and it said an improvement, and I put implementation in there too, because I think that's part of what we do is then implement the curriculum that we've written. So I did throw that word in there, and the only other thing I think I recommended as changes is on the back page with the numbered items there, number 2, I struck out including a program evaluation method in the curricular documents itself. Teachers certainly do assessment with students, but they aren't necessarily responsible for program evaluation, so I wouldn't put that in our curriculum documents, but I would have that documented that we do evaluate our program, and then I would put how we do that in our procedure.
Yeah.
So that was my thinking there. And then number 6 stuck out to me a little bit. Of course, we use technology and want to infuse that when it's appropriate, but we do that with writing, we do that with reading, and I didn't feel it, in my professional opinion, I didn't feel it necessary to call out technology in this. What's important, but so are lots of other things.
This would be a good, something in
Procedure
procedures.
for sure, or that we're monitoring as we're developing those curriculum documents. So I struck that out. I could go either way on it, but the more I thought about it, I'm like that, I can see why some districts might want it in there. I'm not worried about us infusing technology into our curriculum. Everybody has a device, so
Sure,
and that's
it's
a part of
organic.
what we do.
Mhm.
So, but I think otherwise, this is very workable and reasonable and mirrors a lot of what we already do.
So
For
thoughts,
procedure, or from a policy standpoint.
so thoughts or recommendations from the board members about us moving forward with building a procedure based on those four. Like I said, technically they will eventually be eliminated, but we don't want to eliminate the processes and the procedures that are scripted inside of the policies. And I think that's what Ms. Regal is talking about, is making sure that we get that procedure in front of you at the next meeting. Thoughts, suggestions?
Number 2,
Yeah.
I was just wondering if we could be more specific in regards to,
What do you mean number 2?
I'm sorry,
Page
The
one?
first
Oh,
page.
on the list,
first
yeah.
page.
Yep, yep.
When they say broader community, because through, our pilot program, et cetera, we actually engaged, parents, students in particular, and not the broader community. So I don't know if we need to delineate that and also specify in their involvement, because I don't want people to misinterpret that they can actually, sit in on certain, aspects of it versus
Right.
we can say via, I don't know, surveys or something like that, so then they know what type of involvement versus just putting it that way, it could be interpreted as
Could it be just that we engage, because we really did engage stakeholders, meaning
Yeah,
teachers,
correct.
parents,
so maybe we
in
can
the
say
evaluation
stakeholders.
process.
Put
Yeah, like
stakeholders
Sometimes
in
I
there.
feel like more specific in some of these policies is not so bad, it's
Right.
more
Stakeholders.
branding it with the falls,
Engage.
way.
And then
Like
again, in
stakeholders.
procedure, I envision talking about program evaluation in terms of getting perception feedback.
Through feedback and survey or something like
Yeah,
that.
thing like that.
I just wanna specify that, so that, cause when you say broad community,
Sounds like
somebody
anybody
can
Right.
come in and
And I mean, that's
And
what
it's
I
kind
like today.
And clarifying it is kind of procedural, but not really, you know what I mean, like we can take it a step further in the procedures, I think, like,
So
specifying
the
survey.
board encourages practices that seek to engage the
We can
stakeholders
even put in parents,
in
students,
stakeholders.
teachers, in the evaluation
I got
curriculum and in instruction and generating ideas for improvement through feedback and survey or something like that. Just kind of specify it a little bit more.
Got it,
That's what I thought of it, or survey feedback.
Yeah.
Which is,
got it,
Are you getting this down?
I got it,
okay,
I got it.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, my thing was, this second paragraph, I think, I just feel like it, like I said, like kind of putting the falls twist on it a little bit, now I like it, I just feel like it's not completely in line with what we do, so for example, I kind of hammered out a rough sentence. The board has oversight and will delegate C&L committee to oversee or collaborate, I was negotiating with them.
Delegate, okay.
In, or, either or word or whatever, in the development, evaluation, and improvement of the curriculum with districts, professional staff who is under the leadership and direction of the district or superintendent. So just kind of a little tweakings,
Second paragraph, first page.
Sure.
Can I see what
So-
you wrote down?
I have,
Have a bit, so the board,
it's my chicken scratch.
I can, okay,
Yeah.
oversight and will delegate,
Mhm.
has oversight and will delegate to.
Because we, it's not the full board.
Yeah,
Got
That's
it.
a good point, we really don't.
Yeah.
so should we
So-
change it
Can you
to the
imagine how long
committee?
our board meetings would
Yeah,
be?
so if the board has
Right.
oversight, they do.
Right, they do,
But
absolutely.
will delegate, they've assigned us
I
the
like that.
C&L committee to oversee or collaborate, I don't know which word, or
So-
both.
It's actually a good point, because there are boards, my previous district,
Mhm.
the board didn't have a policy committee,
Sure.
and the
Cows.
board
They can do it
did,
differently,
the
right?
board did directly manage policies on a,
Cows.
we calendared it.
Committee as a whole,
Committee of
the
the whole, yeah.
Cows, I mean, I didn't.
Oh,
Back to the floor.
All right. So I like that,
Yeah,
actually.
okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Sorry, I just
Yes,
rattled it
I
off.
do like that as well,
I just
thank you
was
very
like-
much for that.
Something, like I said, like it's, it's a good template, it's kind of canned, but to put it a little twist on what
Yep.
we do here.
I have a good note on it and I'll follow up.
Yeah, cause I like that
You.
procedures
I
idea.
got it.
Can you explain or expand on that number 5 on the second page? That talks about it shall address and facilitate instructional differentiation within the applicable course of study.
Yeah, and
What
Yes.
exactly?
So I looked at that as
Referring to.
with our template that we're currently using, for example, and again,
Okay.
there's a place in here when we talk about learning targets, what the students will know, be able to do just how we scaffold or, support students who maybe are missing some requisite skills and help them get there, as well as maybe students who already have it. Within these curricular documents, we do ask teachers to think about that
Mhm.
and add some specificity to that based on what they're planning.
So, is there a different way to word that? Because remember, these policies, parents read it.
Yeah.
Community members read it. If I can't understand it, there's no way that they're
Yeah.
actually gonna understand that. It's great that you elaborated here for me, but the average person won't be
Sure.
able to understand what that means.
so you're talking about number
So they
5.
Yeah.
they shall
That should be an
address
easy
facilitate
fix, yeah.
instructional
Yeah.
differentiation.
Or even if you put in
Yeah.
parentheses
Basic
example,
needs,
scaffolding.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Why don't we work on a
But-
rewrite, because I think I know what you're saying, but to
Just to
educate
make it more.
to those that have taught for a while, differentiated instruction is sort of kinda just, it's with us.
Yeah.
It's something that we sort of just do.
It's adjusting instruction to meet,
Right.
not adjusting the expectations necessarily,
Yeah.
but
Thank you.
adjusting the way that you help students get there, the scaffolds of
Yeah.
supports, that kind of thing.
That's
So
what,
yeah,
I mean, when I read it, I thought that, but
But
I
you're
had
not
to think
sure.
about it.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it, so it's
I
just
get it.
Yeah.
an average parent
Yeah.
reading it would absolutely not
For sure.
understand. So it's just,
Especially, yeah,
just a rewording, that's all.
Yeah, I can work on that.
Rewording,
or even, yeah.
okay. That actually makes sense, and sometimes,
Because I always read, when I'm working on the policy, can a parent just pick it up and read it and understand it, because that's what we're doing it for, is for them to understand it, and if we have a hard time,
I like it though.
Okay.
It looks good.
alright. So yeah, I like those changes also too.
alright, excellent.
And so we're gonna go ahead, and
The
once
letter-
everything is said and done, we're gonna strike the 331 through the 333.
Yep.
So we just won't have that number policy at all.
Well, correct.
Correct.
We'll maintain 330 and
Sure.
330 will be the curriculum policy. And we're gonna build in a procedure, that'll be a procedure 330 with the understandings that we just talked about, so.
Okay.
Like I said, we think that it's
It will
a good,
still get us to the same place, and it will be easier for people to digest it,
yeah,
and more current.
absolutely,
And those policies were 10 years old,
they were,
2014. Okay.
But it's good, I appreciate doing that at this point in time,
Yeah.
when I have been through
Right.
some procedures or
Good
some
timing.
curriculum revisions, because now I've okay, we've kind of
Yeah.
established,
Process and
Yeah.
streamlined it so that it
yeah,
works well.
so I think we'll have a good match between
Yeah.
actual practice and.
Yeah, definitely.
Next item.
alright, so we're gonna go to letter E,
341.
341. So let's go to letter E, so this will be the next 5 little sub sheets. So just so we're all looking at the right documents, because there's 2 PRG documents in there, so I'm gonna reference it, just to make sure that all the board members present have the right ones. There should be one that says 341, which is our actual policy, right here. And then there's a 341 that's struck out. And then there's another 341 that's struck out like this. So there's 3 of these. And then after that, you'll see a couple that are labeled 381, but those are templates. That's where I'm gonna focus our time, it's these 2 right here. Right, these are PRG templates, but they number things incorrectly. Just for the understanding, for those listening at home and for the board members here, 381 is our 341, okay? That when I was working on these with Isabella, I actually have a folder that's labeled 341/381. So this is all letter E. These things are all letter E. But for the purposes of the discussion and feedback, what I put quite a bit of work into just some thoughts on this document, meaning the PRG 381. The first one is policy, the second one's procedure. I don't think there's any changes to the template and procedure, alright? Just giving you an overview.
I just have a question.
Yeah,
Cause I
yes.
couldn't remember, I think for the committee, did we ever decide we're gonna change it to rule or procedure? I can't remember.
Procedure.
We decided to keep it procedure. We're
Oh,
keeping
procedure,
we did
right,
talk
we're not
about
doing the rule, okay, I thought
We
that
did.
And
was-
that's, yeah.
Okay.
That I remember.
And
Cause I know I forgot about the superintendent one.
So no, essentially, if you're a Neola district, they have a different way to go with that word versus a PRG. You know, it's tomato, it means the same thing. That they're not policies, they're I would consider them, coming from a Neola district, they're how I would look at things, meaning an administrator. Like, hey administrator, here's how you have to go about working through this policy. This will help you in terms of your administrative approach to this policy. I mean, that's a Neola training, but it's the same idea with
Sure.
procedures. Alright, so 381, this first, which is a template addressing controversial issues with students in classes and other school activities. This is a sample policy from the PRG. Policy Resource Guide, which again is the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, which almost every school district in the state belongs to that organization. So they have lawyers and policy experts that kind of draw these things up. So what I did is I took the liberty of laying down the template policy, but then throwing in some things in blue, and looking at it and going, I think this gets everything with a lot of strikes to the template. But notice in the end, I like the Wisconsin statute citations, 118.13. That's what you get from working with the PRG, which is they have policy experts and lawyers doing these things. Section 118.01, sub 2, sub D, 2C, and then it gives an example, and then also human growth and development at the state level, which is section 118.019. On the very last page, I did cross-reference not just the federal law, but also PI 9, student non-discrimination, but also the federal law about protection of pupil rights provisions and general educational provisions. I did add in from this district, I took this liberty, and this should be in blue, that's my mistake. Very last page, page 6, policy 334 and policy 871. I linked those in there as cross-references. They are cross-references right now for 341. I'm thinking they still will be based on my reading. So at this point, I think I like going to a base policy of PRG because I know that it's backed up by a lot of policy experts outside of this room. And I've worked with policy for a lot of years, so has Ms. Riebel, and it's always good to be sitting on a base of some of these things. So thoughts about, and I know you're just getting this right now, but thoughts about some of the things that are listed in here. I think it has the flavor of our existing policy and is very close to the intent of our current policy, but based now on a statewide WASB sample controversial issues policy. Maybe you just need a couple seconds to, I see Joel over there reading hard, let's let him keep reading over there, Joel's catching up. Kidding, Joel. Play it. Dr. Whopper, sorry.
Not yet. I see a lot of the stuff to strike through on the new policy 381.
Yeah, it was, in reading through a lot of that, it was, it's already,
Is it in the procedure? That's why, because I.
yeah, the
read through
procedures
some
I
of
haven't done anything with.
Okay.
Meaning if you look at the procedure, which we would change rule to procedure, you know, that's fine,
But I did read some of those numbers in the policy, the PRG.
yeah.
I mean, there were actually some good points in there, so
Yeah,
I'm
that's what I'm
wondering if
saying.
we can take some of those while we're actually
Absolute-
formulating the procedure and then putting it in there.
Yeah, I left the procedure untouched. This is actually exactly like it was sent to us from the WASB.
I'm surprised our policy is so long.
It was,
I read it and I was like, this is so long.
it was very long and that's why I took some liberties with strikes, but we can unstrike and add in. I think
I do like the content, I just think that we could put it in the procedure versus keeping, or putting it back in the policy.
Sure,
Because otherwise, we're gonna make that policy even much longer.
okay,
Which content are you referring to?
This
yeah,
one, like the ones that the strike through,
Oh,
I
the
read all
strike
of
through?
those,
Okay.
cause I felt like number 4 too was.
Yeah, 3 is good.
3 is good, 7, so if
Bunch
that
of
is
messages.
okay,
Yeah.
we can,
Sure.
we can work on the procedure at that next
yeah, so,
meeting, so then.
so
we'll
which
address
ones
it.
would you like for me to, 3 on page
Well,
3?
yeah, I like 3,
Mhm.
I
Okay.
like 7. But again, I wanna read also the procedure in its entirety and kind of absorb it to see if it's also redundant. Because I wanna also repeat
No, that's
it. But my idea was to take some of this and put it into the procedure,
Okay.
if that's possible.
So 3 and 7, other things from,
I mean,
It's just a lot of points that didn't think about.
yeah, when I read through it,
4.
4,
Yeah, I like 4.
okay,
4, 7.
Okay.
6?
See, so that's what I'm saying, so I think if we could use some points of those and combine, use the ones we like.
or we could leave it
5
right
too, I
in
like 5 too.
policy.
Yeah,
I mean, it was in their template policy,
Yeah,
Their
true.
town policy was 4 pages.
you know, it was, but I mean,
It's
but
very, it's a good example and a good picture of what the expectations are.
yeah,
I mean, it gives you a good guideline if someone's wondering what is the policy.
and it's one of the things where I think it's very healthy to always look at the PRG. It's not like we always have to go there,
I like
but
what you have, I mean, I do like that,
Yeah, I think we can kind of cross-read some of this.
I do like some of the
Like a
information
hybrid.
there.
okay,
Right.
I just
So
have to see which one we wanna
yeah.
put in the policy or the procedure aspect of it.
So I have 4, 6, 7,
well,
and 3.
I mean, I'm
4,
just
6.
reading through most of these, like,
Like, we might just need to go through each one next time and,
Yeah, I
or
just sit
review
down
them ahead of
and-
time and think if we want it policy, procedure, or not.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, I
So
was,
maybe that's, we kind of
Yeah.
come
I
to a
took some
consensus.
liberties just to get us going,
Yeah.
that, okay, I'll strike everything after the blue,
Yeah,
but certainly we can unstrike 3, 4, 6, 7,
Okay.
and either keep it in policy or move it into the procedure.
yeah,
Which
I mean,
is-
some of
which
it is
is-
more example-y,
Yeah.
type of
I
thing,
didn't want it
so,
as examples,
yeah,
because our policy should be.
true. And that's kind of our
Yeah,
theme with policies, we kind of have the over encompassing, yeah.
And then put in examples and
Yeah.
procedure if you needed.
True.
Yeah, and my thought when I was striking away, cause I did that myself, was that it did seem less than 30,000 feet in some respects, not that it wasn't good,
Yeah,
but I like the
More
broader, I like the
policy,
broader for
yeah.
policy, and procedure is more,
Detailed oriented.
do you think they did that in case they didn't use the rule, you know what I mean, like?
But they had a rule though.
they did.
So do they have to go as a package deal in their eyes?
Well, when they create rules like this, it's a good question. and you can scratch out 381, that would be 341.
Oh,
So we're not
So it'd be down the new 341.
the new 341. So, and I'll make those changes into the future here. But with these documents, when they create the rule, like you have these policy experts, whomever they are, lawyers up in Madison or wherever, the WASB, when they make the rule, they're doing it aligned to their template. Meaning they're not doing it absent, they have this template sitting there and they're creating it with the understanding that you're gonna use both. So keep that in mind, that it's already connected,
yeah,
and that's helpful to know that when these were created, they were created together and they were meant to run in tandem.
and I see that, you know, in the rule that they're more, what's the word, like more direct, you know,
Yep,
ground rules, like very straightforward, you know, just kind of like bullet points.
Yep.
Versus, you know, on here it's more like a scenario,
and
I don't know.
I think it's valuable that 400 and plus school districts have access to this if they're PRG customers. We happen to be, some people use Neola, but I'll just use page 2 of the rule, number 3, just because it's a brief sentence. It reads, provide a common foundation for discussion or learning activity. That's a lot more specific than what you're gonna see in what I previously wrote. But then it gets into, this might be done by helping students explore the origin of the concept. That's good. That's good stuff, and that was created in tandem
Right,
with the policy. So
yeah,
so just keep that in mind as we
that's a good point,
look at these things, and it's why I left it untouched.
yeah,
What'd you wanna say?
I was just gonna say that I think when we talk, policy is important, but in my day-to-day implementation, this is where I would spend the bulk of time with teachers.
Yep.
Procedure.
Yep.
That's where they live.
Yep.
Yes.
yeah,
So just for
So the
that
policy
contrast.
should, should be like 30,000 feet.
Yeah, and that's,
yeah, so we could.
but I think it's a healthy way to make sure we have a solid base, but also making sure that, so that, you know, if someone's like, oh, they're talking about controversial issues again. No, but it's exactly the same as anybody else that's a PRG customer that's gonna see these at this exact template. You know, it's not my creation. We have some local adjustments to this that I think the board's agreeable with, but they're really based on what's already written.
So what I'm thinking is like, you know, all these 1 through 13,
Yep,
it's just kind of, they just start numbering it.
yep,
So where's the heading, you know, like we could give it a heading and shift it on over, you know.
yeah,
Procedure.
and I kinda, when I was reading it and I was kind of engrossed in it up on a couple screens, it felt procedure-like, you know, to me, but it clearly they were okay with it being in policy, so am I.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
you know, it makes
But
sense
in-
for me for it to stay in policy because they, meaning the WASB and the people who created the policy resource guide, established it as a policy level
Okay.
item. So I feel comfortable with it in
Okay.
either location.
Okay.
Does that help?
So we'll review it, like, and kind of get a feel for if it
Yeah.
feels more policy versus procedure and.
Time to like digest it and
I-
then bring it
it's a
down
lot.
and,
Yeah.
and label.
It's a lot.
Alright,
do different headings or do 31, 1.1, you know, those.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
also do that too.
that's true, 341.1
One,
and then
whichever
give
it
it
is,
a
that
heading.
topic, yeah, heading.
That is a good point too.
So just to throw it out there.
Parse
Yeah,
it out a
parse it.
little bit.
Okay,
I like that.
Alright, we will digest it.
I like it, I like it.
The next.
okay,
And then,
and,
I'm not familiar with the audio.
This is my
visual one.
baby.
well, yeah,
This is
sorry.
my baby.
So,
I
so,
can initiate this if
okay,
you want.
yeah, why don't you go ahead, because we had a conversation about it, and I put it there because we had that conversation, but
No idea.
I was it was
So-
supposed to be an artifact, but I wanted it to be in there.
Yep.
Um,
And I just wanted it, I asked David to put it in just for discussion in case it might be something I'm gonna throw this out here, and then we can talk about it, or we can, address it next time, once we review things a little bit more. And Amy, I actually want your input on this too. I mean, obviously on everything, but this one specifically. Okay, so it was it's kind of comparing, this is a request form for audiovisual materials. And I think with the form for supplemental materials, there's like two different things being filled out apparently for audiovisual and supplemental. If they want a movie or a show or a clip or something, they have to fill out
This
both.
form, yes.
So- And the only reason I say that is because I caught it in some staff newsletter and it said, both policies can apply to the use of audiovisual materials, meaning if audiovisual material meets the criteria for supplemental materials, completing the full-length approval request form would not be sufficient. And the supplemental materials evaluation submission form would be needed as well. So my thinking is, can we kind of streamline it a little bit?
So I think, yes, but I absolutely, I think there's a way to do that. I would have to think through what it is, but I think the difference is if we think back to supplemental materials, we're really
Okay.
talking about that being a permanent part of our collection and instruction.
Gotcha,
Whereas this could be
like
a
something they
one-time
popped in the
use.
news or something, yeah.
Or something, I don't know, but I think, because I think there's parent permission around this too, right?
Yeah, there is.
So where typically with supplemental materials, there aren't.
Okay, okay.
So I guess those would be the two things that I would think,
So I get it, so this is more for full length.
So are
yes.
are we kinda into
so
letter
This is
G right
kind of
now?
an event,
So, but then why would they have to have them both filled out?
so.
Because they wanna keep it for
I
next
think
year.
if they wanna
Got
keep it and use it for
Okay.
next year, then they fill that out as a record that this is an approved supplemental material. And that then could be used by another teacher at the grade level.
The only reason I
So-
brought it forward is if there was any chance to make it easier for teachers,
Yeah.
like on the supplemental form, maybe having some cross-referencing
Referencing?
somehow. I'm just posing
Yeah,
that
no,
right
I
now
think
and
that, I
throwing
think
it out
that's
there.
I think that's a great
But it might not be,
piece.
but if it's for full length
Yeah.
and permission,
I wonder, because I think, yeah, it does trigger that every year I have a new group of students and I need to
Right.
get special permission for certain movies. I wonder if this,
but
I
so,
think it's.
but if it's just like a little short, let's say,
Right, and it's a one
all they have
time,
to do is fill out the supplemental, right?
if
That's what I'm
If
confused
they're only
about.
using it once because it's timely, topical, something I saw from
Mhm.
last night's news that connects to her learning, they don't have to fill out anything. They
Okay.
do have the ability to use that as a one-time. If they wanna use it as a regular part of the curriculum year after year,
Okay,
then they would need to fill out the supplemental.
okay, so that makes sense.
I would be happy to
So I,
talk with
Yeah.
principals
Okay.
about that, because
Yeah.
they're the ones who are really using
I
this
know.
with their teachers. This doesn't,
yeah, or any
come
feedback
across
on
my
the
desk,
forms
but-
would be good.
yeah,
Okay.
I would be,
I agree,
would be
that's
happy
easier
to
for
do
the
that,
teachers
'cause
and
yes, any way
principals.
we can streamline that, cause I know it has been a big lift for them this year with the
Yeah.
supplementals, which they're doing,
Yeah.
and we put it in an electronic format, emails
Yeah.
the principal when a new teacher submitted
Nice,
something, like we
yeah.
got it streamlined the best we can,
Well, and
but
I would think for a full length, it would be a little bit more rare occurrence, right?
it should be, cause that's a big use of class time, but I know
Exactly.
sometimes they read a book and the class has done really well, they've met a goal, like I did that as a teacher every once in a while, like, we're gonna watch the movie that went with the book.
Exactly.
But I don't do that routinely every year as a practice,
No.
and I don't do it for every book, so then it's,
True.
and I think it's a little different, like our books typically don't come with the same kind of ratings that,
Yeah.
movies
Right.
do, and parents are aware, and so we have specific guidelines around NG, PG, those kinds of things.
So I might not be solving anything,
Okay.
but I just wanted to pose some questions and have that document in
Okay.
front of us just for that sake, and that's all. I mean, in case there's any other recommendations or, comments from teachers or principals, we can use that in here too.
For sure, yeah, that
And bring
hasn't
the
come to
forms
me, but
in.
I will reach out to principals and see how those have intersected this year,
Yeah,
and what the issues are,
Oh, I get it,
opportunity, yeah, cause they
I
might,
get it, I get
depending
it.
on what they're doing with the film, they might be doing double work.
yeah.
Right.
Or,
So we still
you
need to
know,
have something that triggers that parent notification.
I mean, it's still, exactly, it's still
Okay.
So
We wanna still cover the elements, but how do we do that?
So the
Yeah.
so the artifact, the presence of 360 isn't to change 360. It was more as of an example about how do we make less work for our teachers.
Right, like can we
Right.
tweak it a little bit?
I think with our electronic form, and
Okay,
I'm not the one who set it up, so I
Yeah.
wanna be careful how I speak, but there might be something if you select a film that it
Sure,
takes you
that
to a
it-
new form and you have
Oh,
to fill out
okay.
those pieces.
okay,
I don't know.
that would be great.
That would be
If
nice.
that's cross-reference.
Streamlining is key.
Yes.
You know, and I think
for
it's
sure.
a one and done, if they're gonna use it anyway, you know,
Right,
for
and they're
supplemental for the year to come or whatever, or years to come, then it's kind of done and it's on record, so that's good.
Got it.
Okay, I just wanted to pose that question.
Thank you, I'll
Okay.
get some feedback.
Yeah, oh, and the next one is supplemental educational materials.
Yep,
Just bringing it back, just to review it and I had to talk to David about some things that I would recommend, but you know,
So I looked at this relatively new policy or procedure. So I'm looking at I'm looking at two documents right now. So the one with green on it,
okay,
sorry to switch colors.
Yeah.
That was me trying to be artistic, which I am not at all. So next time I'll use easier colors, they're easier on me.
I know, the copier didn't like that.
Like both times that's not as
The
easy on
printer.
I
guys.
have optometrist here.
Yeah, I know, I haven't looked at
It looks
my-
brighter on the screen.
I know, it looks better on the screen,
It
doesn't
does, yeah.
So both of these, this is the original, so you'll have the originals and then you'll have the green one is sort of a markup by me as a suggestion about, you know, I think this is a very good procedure, 361. All I did was, for example, on the very first page,
It's a policy.
or
Policy.
did I?
There's
Both.
Well, there's both.
Yeah, there's,
Oh, sorry,
I'm-
you're looking at procedure?
I'm
Yeah,
looking
it's
at
now.
this,
I think
the
procedure
green,
came up first.
procedure.
Got it.
yeah, I just started with the procedure.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying.
Because I really didn't, I was starting here on the procedure 361. And a couple of things that, they're more wordsmithing about the
Yes.
top
Okay.
and the procedures for the communication, supplemental educational materials. But the next part is division of curriculum is director of curriculum learning and analytics. So there's some like kind of wordsmithing, and then right above that, just adding in a piece. Number 4, it's more about striking small things for whom the materials are selected, social, emotional, and the big add, and this is gonna be really the point of discussion, which is why I kinda got to it quickly, is number 7. And that's in green, sorry that it's so dark, that is me, and we'll make them lighter next time. So number 7 is an add, a recommended add, which is aligned with the district's human growth and development curriculum, HGD, grades 3 to 10, content to determine the age and grade appropriateness of the material. For grades K2, no material relating to HGD topics or content shall be used. That piece is if you jump to the last page of the procedure, there's a few other things in there that we can get to, but I wanna hit the big point of discussion and just open it up. That on the last page, summary of sexual content and profanity guidelines by grade under number 4. And then it goes into HGD, it goes into human growth and development in particular. So that's the vast majority of the change. There's a few other things, but it's essentially integrating and incorporating human growth and development into what is a relatively new procedure. I think it was maybe an unintentional, perhaps intended and now more scripted,
So number 7,
yes.
these are just really quick stuff.
Yep.
That's capitalized, that shouldn't be capitalized, it should not be capitalized.
Oh, okay.
And then is district's human growth and development curriculum, should that be capitalized?
Yeah,
I
I had little
just little
things too.
nuances.
Yeah, the HG and the D in that.
and then we need to move the
Yeah, but-
HGD over by the development and put in parentheses, right? You know what I mean, like
Got it. Yep.
HGD should go
It's-
after,
Not after curriculum, but after
Yeah,
development.
yeah.
Got it.
Okay, that's just little stuff that I saw.
and then I actually have one more thing in this sentence, I gotta get my notes, I didn't wanna print out anything.
Number 3 on
It-
page 2 should, district's HGD. You can spell it, human growth and
Well,
development
we
curriculum, yeah.
abbreviated there, so couldn't you use the abbreviation?
Yeah, once you
elsewhere?
start your abbreviation
Right.
throughout the rest of the paper, you
Yeah,
use
right.
the
So-
abbreviation.
I think we should move grades 3 through 10 after,
What page are you on? Sorry.
Page 2, number 3, it should just say HDD, or typically we say HG and D.
and D, okay, yeah, well, we
that's
can,
just how
Okay.
people refer to it
we
in
can
the
just
district.
go, you can just do a sweep through, but I think that back to number 7, move parentheses grades 3 through 10, end of parentheses, after content. Just a little tweak there. Yeah, just to kind of refer, like keep it all together, curriculum content,
Got it.
and then
Okay,
grades
got it.
3 through 10.
Got it. Also, on number 2, I thought, so you're gonna break that down, like criteria for the selection, and we just have sexual content and profanity. Would it be easier to kind of visually see the breakdown if we put like under criteria for selection of materials, capital A, sexual content, so then all the information underneath that, and then when we talk about profanity and B, and then profanity as that.
That's what I wrote down. I think we should write sexual content and profanity, like we should have subheadings in that
Yeah.
bulk.
Does that make sense?
So that when
Because
people are
it's-
going
it's-
through, they
it's
can
just
say, I'm looking for
yeah,
this,
visually,
this
it's
piece of
easy to see.
information,
Oh,
or
on
this
So
bottom piece
page,
of information.
Yeah, so like
Okay.
if you look at
page
criteria,
2,
I think
Page
like
two.
page 2 and if you have
Under
A,
criteria,
like another subheading, like
So
sexual
A.
content, and then we have the information underneath that. And then B,
yeah.
it's just visually.
Or
for
not
me, it
even
just
A and
makes it-
B, or I don't know how
Or
you,
whichever,
or just- or
or
just-
capital
or just say sexual content and then the number 1 and then whatever goes under that, and then profanity, and then whatever goes under that. Like, here's
Right.
profanity and here's sexual content.
got it.
if we're gonna do that, then
And do like a flow.
that should be better.
You mean sexual content and
Well,
profanity?
let's not jump ahead. Can we go through like sections? Okay, is there anything on page 2, anything else that you wanna talk about or?
Oh, number 3, assist in determining. Right, cause that strike through, I think it was,
Oh, the E,
so should it be determining?
yeah.
Yes.
I did that backwards.
I just saw that.
Okay,
What about number 3?
so I meant to scratch the E
You're
I-
welcome
From
to
the-
strike out.
from determining.
Sure.
Well, strikeout is a drop down on bold.
Yeah.
So when I'm dropping down on bold, which is how it works, is you're on bold and then you go over and, well, anyway.
This is a tedious process.
So, under number 3, since we're under sexual content, I'm recommending crossing out as it relates to sexual content.
Because we're gonna make it letter
Because it's kind of
C,
redundant.
we're gonna make it letter C, sexual content, right?
So you
Yeah,
just wanna
whatever, I
say,
just say the district's human growth
Oh, okay.
HGD curriculum will be used as a reference source.
Got it, yeah.
And then, just cleaning up around here under profanity, because it's already set up on top, about literary merit, just taking out, it may be considered, so that's.
Okay.
so then on page 3, that communication of secondary English language arts, should that be like bold? Like
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
separate it as a different section?
Yeah.
Section, yeah.
And then it.
I like the separation in grades down here.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that it does make it
To
very
look.
easy, and that is also what the human growth and development standard is.
I don't understand under the elementary, no explicit or explicit. Sexual content, does it say no explicit in?
No
I think
Or
it's
in-
supposed to
or
reference
non-explicit in?
no explicit or non-explicit sexual content or
Oh, should we
or-
not
or
then?
not-
Is that
no.
what it is?
No
I think that was a
explicit
typo.
or inexplicit sexual content. Like it would
It
be
should
like,
just be no explicit sexual content.
I think that.
well, there's inexplicit, it's under book looks, it's inexplicit sexuality, sexual content.
So it's inexplicit?
Yeah, there's inexplicit,
No explicit or inexplicit?
it's both.
Because of the grade level.
Yeah.
It's defining that
So
in
like,
totality.
Got it.
Like, what's an
Okay.
example?
well, for me, I think of like an example of like, you know, a butt, a picture of a butt.
Oh.
In a book.
Yeah.
You know, K4 through second, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever come
Yeah.
across.
Yeah, there are, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not like real life.
I was, no photographs.
So.
I mean, there's a picture, there's a book about, I'll tell you later.
Yeah, I don't
Oh.
well, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess outside of toilet training.
Yeah, no, outside of toilet training, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So,
On page 3, you're also repeating yourself a couple times, so under communication, number 1, there's reading this will be sent out to parents, and you also have that at the bottom, basically stating, rephrasing the same thing.
Yeah.
So you can probably
So should we
remove the communication of classroom books at the bottom, you probably remove that, because you already got it at point number 1 above.
Semester.
but it's talking about opt out.
Where?
Are we talking about number 4?
Mhm. Oh.
No,
No, number 1, I see it here.
Number
Yeah.
1 on top.
So this is
Yeah,
and the
repeated
green
from
on the
both.
Oh,
bottom.
gotcha.
Yeah, he's right.
So that's repeated, yeah, I think he's right. So we're gonna cross out that bottom.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Got
It's
it.
right up here. Or you wanna
No.
reword it, wait,
No.
okay.
That,
Teachers
there are
will
two
provide
different
a
things.
digital,
Yeah, the,
This is new, this is
List of each book
we
available.
providing a list of classroom books in the classroom that we've talked about in the past.
So secondary English reading list will be sent out to parent guardian at the
so then
beginning.
why don't we
So that's
reword it and
second.
add it up to,
I'd say just reword
Why
number
don't
1
you-
then.
add it to
Sure.
the bullet point 1.
So this is secondary level, this is all levels.
Oh, well then that's confusing, so we need to.
Oh, I
That's
see what you're
really
saying.
confusing.
Okay, so
So,
secondary
okay.
ELA.
Since we're jumping all around, communication of secondary English, language arts, supplemental materials prior to use, this should be in bold because it's a heading.
Yeah, I got it.
And so it's secondary, this is about communication of these lists.
It's a secondary.
But yes,
Okay, so then why don't we just put a separate heading called just communication? And then number 1 is secondary ELA, and then the other one is in all grades, or something to that effect.
Okay,
Under
so,
communication.
or
That's
just,
confusing
it,
for me, yeah.
well, right, exactly, so
So,
then that could say
A
communication.
third one should be communication,
Got it.
right? And then
Or
we're
all
separate.
grades,
And so then,
or specified
oh,
grades.
so then down here
So
should be the first one.
communication,
Does that make
right.
sense? Communication, then number 1 should be right here for all grades.
Yeah.
You can say all grades.
Mhm.
And
And
then
then,
number 2
and then
is secondary.
specifying,
Right.
secondary ELA,
Yeah,
it's
so
not
it'll be
like
like
just
this,
secondary.
communication, all grades, secondary. Okay, that makes sense.
And then looking at this, okay, so back to the summary of the sexual content profanity, looking at no explicit or inexplicit sexual content, so I'm under the elementary grades 4K to 5.
I think we should break that up.
Well, I think if we explain this in a way of, you know, how I read that is no reference to sexuality. Like no reference to gender identity, sexuality,
Sexuality.
sexual activity,
But you have to break
sexual.
that up though, because see how I just think it should be broken up, because 4K through 5, that's a huge swath.
Okay, so maybe 4K,
Because our human growth doesn't start till 3rd grade.
so
So we
4K
have to
to
delineate
2.
4K to 2.
Correct.
I
And
think
then
we have
3 to
to do
5.
that.
and then
Yeah.
3 to 5. I actually agree with that.
Okay,
So it should be 4K to 2.
4K to
And
2.
then grades 3 to 5. I think that will help.
Okay.
And that's in line with how our
Elementary?
elementary schools are broken out anyways.
Yeah.
And that's in line with the human growth and
So we
development
can do like-
curriculum.
Yes.
So
Grade work
3 to
would be-
5 aligned with human growth and development curriculum, I think that's what she
And
said.
correct, and that then is already,
So 3 to 5 align with,
right,
you know,
so
G and D.
Yeah, HD and D, just like how I saw down here,
and
alignment.
then,
See how it says
right.
alignment, that makes sense to me because it starts in 3rd grade, so that makes
Just-
sense.
Wanna make I've got a lot of the adjustments down, but one thing that Ms. Riedel and I were talking about was that in some respects, and this is from a high school teacher of years ago, that this is more challenging at the more you're in secondary. This is a lot closer to, like human growth and development curriculum is a lot closer to a broader swath of educators than when you move to the secondary level. So there's some implementation work with this, it's not undoable, but just need you to be aware of those challenges.
Our secondary
Okay.
teachers, for the most part, don't teach human growth and development, only our health teachers do.
Yeah.
So in order for teachers to implement this, we're going to have to train all of them
Okay.
in the human growth and development curriculum.
I get it.
so that they know
So that they
the
know what to look for, so
standard,
that
what-
training will have to be in depth enough that they have that in mind when they're selecting books.
Okay,
So I just wanna be very clear that that's a lift
okay,
that would be coming with this. I'm
But I
not
mean,
saying that
it's
it's
not
like
like
a
a full
right
training, I mean, you could have like general summaries, bullet points, you know, like, I mean, I've seen summaries of human growth and development, like from the curriculum, what was it, last year? No, 2 years ago, but
I
I had
You know,
good
just like
discussions with Ms. Riebel and she was convincing that, to me, that it's, big picture, Ms. Riebel and I have different educational backgrounds.
Mhm.
More elementary and I have more secondary, which is helpful. So it was good perspective where she brought in this cool folder with all the HDD in it and just recently, and I started looking at it going, okay, let's dig into it a
There's
little
a
more.
lot
There's a
there.
lot there.
Yeah.
And but it's something, I bring that up and I'm bringing that up just to make the board aware that there is more of a lift with secondary teachers, not saying it's not doable, not saying it's not creatable. That it's a lot closer to the educators in our 4 primary buildings than it is with our secondary buildings. It's a different,
Sure.
you know, being a secondary, to this day, still licensed as a secondary teacher, you know, it wasn't that, you know, I was a core teacher, it wasn't something that was right in front of me every day. It's
But there-
more in front of.
But when it comes to supplemental materials, there are some basic themes and, you know, if I'm teaching a 6th grader, let's say, I mean, cause I've seen a lot of books
Yep.
and what's in them, and if I read that book and knew the content in it, I would probably know that it's not appropriate for a 6th grader,
Right,
you know? So
Yeah,
I mean, that's why I'm saying like
don't
general
disagree.
themes, like general summary,
think-
so is there a better wording for that?
I don't think so, if you have a specific graduated piece that you're expecting, I haven't seen any better wording, I
Okay.
can do more research on that, but I
Okay.
think if that, it makes sense on one level to tie it to that, I totally get that.
Yeah.
But I think the average teacher, when they're selecting books, isn't gonna know the nuance between 7th grade and 10th grade, and that's gonna be important, and so they're gonna need, for them to feel comfortable
Mm-hmm.
making decisions, they're going to need to have a good amount of knowledge about what that is, and as we looked through that folder, that was
True.
just elementary, there's a lot of detail in
But I think that's
so.
important because of middle school especially. I mean, some of these books are a little too advanced when it comes to human growth and development and to be just aware of the guardrails that's in place, you know, in what our curriculum is already offering.
yeah, I just wanted to share with
Because obviously some of it can be crossing the line.
Yeah, I just wanna share with the board that we had a good, you know, obviously this is a free ride and an
Yep,
adjustment of thoughts just based on conversations about tweaks.
Mhm.
But it was good feedback from Ms. Riebel about
Yeah, no, I get it.
the difference in HGD, human growth and development, at the younger levels than the secondary, that there is some work in that.
And I
Okay.
think probably even at the elementary, to make
Yeah.
sure it's clear, because you're, like I said, at secondary, your average ELA or social studies teacher isn't going to know what's covered in health class, those kinds of things. But even elementary, to make sure they understand the subtle differences between third, fourth, and fifth. It's going to be some work. So that'll just be professional learning that
Okay.
we'll have to invest in. So I just didn't want that to be a surprise.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I'm bringing it up. It's not something that I had eyes on. It's something that I didn't
So
have eyes on.
what do they use as a standard now? Like if they're not using human
Good
growth and
question.
development, what are
Well,
they using?
We, for example, with the middle school books was really where we had the issue, had done the work this year. And that took a lot of learning, and we were able to, because it was a little more isolated, we were able to invest the time with the literacy coordinator, working directly with the health teachers and that kind of thing, and to make it work. But if you're talking for day-to-day, putting a new book in my classroom library, reading it and having an awareness of, is this close to a line, is it cross a line, I think they are using it to a certain extent, but I think it's still a work in progress. And I think if we outline it
Okay.
this specifically, I have an obligation to bring them and some professional development around this in order to make sure they're comfortable with making those decisions.
Yeah, we had a good discussion about it, and it's worth considering, it's worth the board knowing.
Yeah.
It's about,
I mean, I think we're
Well,
on
you're
the same
making the
page about
decision,
what
but they're
we.
submitting it to the principal for approval.
Right.
So
So-
wouldn't the principal have, I mean,
But
I
is-
guess they're determining.
They're
ahead of time,
determining,
they're screening,
they're not
yeah.
necessarily reading the book
Yeah.
to get to that point,
True,
they can't
true.
read every book.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
that's,
True.
It's just,
So they're giving them the input.
yeah, so it takes a team, I think,
Yeah.
to.
I think so, I mean, what do you think? Does it work? Anything else on this page, on the second page?
Are we gonna break out the 4K to 2, 3, and 5?
I have notes to break it up.
Okay.
So what are we gonna put in the 4K to 2?
What's
Yeah, I
listed
actually
under
think that
elementary
we
grade?
should
Like,
break
word
that up.
of it. Right?
Yeah, so no explicit or inexplicit.
I have that.
Right here.
Under
So
Right,
4K to
that's what I'm
2.
saying, move that
Okay.
under 4K-2, and then what do you want under 3-5, just a line?
Well, a line here.
And no
Yeah.
profanity.
Well, it's already there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we'd have to separate it out
Oh, got it,
and
got
just
it.
spell it out for each of them. But, I mean, that's what I was thinking, but what do you think?
And then, so under the 4K to 2 portion of that, did we want to expound on that explicit and inexplicit? Or do we,
No references to.
no references to, what sexuality would be? Because if there's no human growth and development for 4K to 2, where are the guidelines then?
Right.
So you almost need to
Spell it out.
create the
like an
guideline if
example.
there's no existing guideline. What are your thoughts? On breaking, defining that as to, does it make sense just to say no reference to sexuality?
Mhm.
Do we wanna detail it out
Yeah,
to say, gender, sexual activities? Do we want to just leave it under,
Sexual content.
no reference to sexual content?
mhm. But I think
No
sexual
sexual
content is such a broad thing,
It's really broad. I think it needs to be
and when they're that young,
delineated.
I think
Well,
that's
right, because
more
if there's no
important.
human growth and development standard, right, then we need to, based on,
Mhm.
So let's think about that. Now that we know
Okay.
that we're splitting it up, we'll find the words in there
Well,
to
why don't I-
define it more.
why don't I take all of this feedback, which is a lot and it's really good, and kind of build something
Yeah.
new based on the feedback. I mean,
Mhm.
this is discussion only today.
So I had a question.
right, absolutely.
Under the secondary.
Yep.
And the limited and then less than that, is that trying to define, put a guideline?
Trying to define limited.
Well, I'm just asking here, the less than, so are
Oh,
we trying
Yeah.
to
And then some
Define and
defines
I
some.
don't
Well, I gave feedback to David about
Oh.
limited profanity, less than, do we want a guideline? And Amy, I'll take your feedback too, you know, like, do we want to put a number to it?
How?
That-
I know,
Like a-
I know, I
Say
can't, I
10%,
can't.
I don't know.
I put the
Yeah,
dot
No,
dot,
you don't wanna do
Yeah.
percent.
so I put the dot 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 there,
Yeah.
because that's the
I just threw that out there.
discussion.
Just for
Right.
discussion.
Because then I've got somebody, teachers have to count, you know,
Yeah.
count and somebody misses one and then
Yeah.
we're, you know,
Yeah, and then you're not really following.
and
Yeah, that, I just
Most-
like threw it out there to see if
Yeah.
it would stick
Well,
with anybody,
but
what you guys
I-
think.
limited in some, that's open to interpretation.
Exactly,
it is open
I
to
know.
interpretation,
Yeah,
but
I
I
wanna
also
define
think
it.
that in a,
Yeah, I know, it's
I would need word count and compared to profanity count versus total word count and then.
Well,
And then 100
well, and
versus
book looks
102.
has profanity count, but,
What doesn't say?
My intent was to make sure that HGD was incorporated in this procedure.
yeah,
That was the intent, was that human growth and development was represented here.
I think,
Yes.
yeah,
You know, that was the,
Okay.
some of the things
Well,
that
we
I,
can chew on that.
well, I think, well, I was
I
gonna,
don't have it in.
I was gonna specify about profanity though. I think what is meaningful though is if the teacher can provide it when applicable. Like, you know, so a parent has an idea of what's in it, like, for example, because Book Looks does give a count for some of the books, so that's why that was my feedback there. Under number 2, when applicable, will list profanity count of the content, so it's not like you're held to it.
Oh, it's when it's
Yeah,
applicable.
most of the books that we had weren't on Book Looks.
Yeah.
So they're,
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
sure their list is
exactly.
growing, I haven't
Well,
looked at the
exactly.
last, I
Yeah,
need to
me
look
neither.
in a couple months, last
Yeah,
couple
me
months,
I took them fast from it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's, that makes a good, a good dent.
yeah, and I think if it's okay with the board at the next meeting,
Yeah.
that I'm not gonna bring the old policy, seems like we have pretty good understanding that the PRG is gonna be the base, so
Yep.
we'll bring those working documents once there's adjustments based on the feedback today, to the next policy.
I just have one more thing,
Yeah.
just something little, and I might have little, like grammary, not
Yep.
grammar, but punctuation things later, I can send it to you.
Okay,
Under the communication part though,
got it.
it says, I know we're gonna rework the communication part. Do we want to say, this list will be sent, it says sent, should we say like emailed or digitally, or you know, like, rather than send? Should we be more specific?
sent electronically,
Yeah, that sent
so
electron.
it could be a school messenger, it could be a teacher sends it directly in an email, Outlook email.
Yeah.
But it's not coming home in a paper format
And a
in
note pinned
somebody's
to your shirt.
backpack. Well, we could do that.
Do you want the,
We should bring that back,
you want the word
that'd be
electronic?
pretty thick. Yeah, electronic, that would be a really
Yeah, I
big
like that
document
idea.
there.
That's a good idea.
Okay,
Okay,
I think,
got it.
the other thing, and Mr. Bruce, you and I can have a conversation about it, but just the management of that digital list and creating those lists, we've talked about that before.
okay,
I know districts that have done creating those digital lists and kind of works better if you have a format and a process and as many teachers have hundreds of books in
Right.
there, so that's
I mean, it's not
big
gonna
lift.
happen overnight,
Oh,
but yeah.
definitely.
But I think that's a
some-
great, you know, like, to get a plan and,
So that
Yeah.
I would guess, based on my previous experience, that that's,
Could
there's
take a
gonna be and there's gonna be a cost to it. You
okay.
know, we're gonna have to, you know, work with support staff and things like that to make that
Mhm.
happen. So
Well,
just,
Yeah,
we
maybe,
can, but we can totally work that out. I
Okay,
just,
okay,
again, just making sure people, cause I'm thinking about the implementation and all of the.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so, and maybe we can talk about that in curriculum too, if it's needs discussion, you know, or, okay,
Yeah, I'll give it some more thought.
Okay.
We'll-
alright.
All right, 871, I think we needed to tweak that one just because
Yeah.
now that.
Well, there's
Yeah,
timelines.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
So you
the,
wanted to actually
Yeah.
narrow down the timeline
so
because then we're
yeah,
not guessing.
so
Yeah,
I did
I
the-
appreciate that,
Right,
and I think
because we have the
it gives
issues.
us something to point to on everybody's part
Correct.
and doesn't leave me
Yeah.
being the bad guy in the middle, which,
Yeah,
you know,
So now
I
this makes,
don't mind,
yeah,
but
and I think
Yeah,
it's just, I like the changes there in regards to the 2 days.
And once again, this is green for, sorry,
I don't have.
I'll work on my color coding, there is a green one. If you have to flip, it's there.
Go in, I didn't have one.
Second
See,
last
I
page.
didn't have the last one.
I got it.
I didn't have the last one.
Challenges to support education.
That's my fault,
There's fresh packets there.
it's my fault.
Go look for one.
Here,
let me see.
I got it.
You might have one for you.
Nope, I got it.
No, these are the extra packets here.
Yep, and I have one here too.
I'll just take it.
I don't know why I brought my old policies from last time we did
Here you go.
something, I told that's
Chris.
really adding some.
Oh.
No, I'm good, I have one, you need it,
Oh, I
I
think
need it
it's in
in
here.
my.
Let me look. I
Right
just
here.
did this. I know, but I just stole one. I just stole that.
Oh,
Oh,
if she
no, I got
doesn't, if she doesn't find it,
Yeah, you don't see green right away.
Yeah, I don't see
It
that,
was
you don't see it right
away on the outside cover.
it's on page 2,
It's on page. You tricked us.
sorry.
In the, like the
No,
third to
you-
last page, I think,
Of the
In the
packet
packet.
itself.
yes, in the actual packet.
I'll work on my color coding.
But I just wanna go like this with all these.
It's not money.
Like last day of school.
So
Oh,
it's,
there it is. I see it now, bleeding through.
alright,
Alright.
excellent.
So I have, yeah,
So on this, it's really timeline, there's a lot of timelines in here that, just things that are helpful, I think. But obviously that's up for discussion, that's why we're here. If you look at the second page, via email to the teacher, the timeline for acknowledgement of a challenge is 2 business days. And then down further, the school administrator will report in writing the action taken, okay, and then director within 10 business days.
Yeah.
So it's just setting timelines that I don't think it's not changing the intent
Yeah.
of 871, which is a relatively new policy. It's just putting some parameters around, so Ms. Riebel or myself aren't
I'm trying not to guess.
looking at.
Or even the principals to know.
Well,
Right, yeah, there were, I
This is
don't
what I
think there were
need
any
to-
timelines for the principals,
Correct.
So then we're not looking at the-
I had timelines and
Yeah.
which worked out really well because I was on vacation and then
Yeah.
I still had
Right.
plenty of time to get it done.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
because there were it starts off with timelines and then it kind of fades away,
Yeah,
so
so
yeah,
these
that's
are all
what I realized. when I was reading that.
timeline specific. You'll see the 30 business days, the Curriculum and Learning Board Committee will discuss scheduling and challenge review the next available committee meeting. All reasonable efforts will be made to meet with challengers.
So there's a cushion there if we don't do it.
30 business yes, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
because summer is not kind
Yeah.
to many of us. But can we, I'm wondering, just now looking at this with a second set of eyes, all reasonable efforts will be made to meet with the challengers within 30 business days of that initial curriculum and learning committee meeting.
Yeah,
Because it could be that I get a
yeah,
challenge
where's the starting?
Tomorrow,
tomorrow and we don't have a meeting for another month,
Correct.
so
So
then
how
it
do you
might
word
be
it?
60 days out
Of the.
of the initial
I know the wording gets so,
Of,
well, initial,
Of
we'll
the-
play with it.
where we talked about it at the initial meeting.
The scheduling meeting,
Which one is it called? What is it
the
referred to?
CNL meeting where
Where the
scheduling
scheduling was
took
discussed.
I know, it's
Okay,
got
so
some
the
wording.
CNL meeting.
It says it in here, so
Got it.
where's that, okay,
Within
scheduling,
30 days of
The
the
scheduling was
initial-
discussed.
CNL or we'll work on it.
Because it's possible that if I get a challenge tomorrow, we just had our CNL committee meeting, I don't have one for another month to
Yeah,
even
you have
discuss the scheduling.
but you have 10 days though.
But I can acknowledge it
40
and say,
days.
I got it,
Mhm.
we're gonna talk about it at our next meeting and
We're
then
gonna
we'll
schedule it with all reasonable
But
efforts.
Right, so we I acknowledge it, we talk about it at the next meeting, then it could be another 30 days before we meet. So somebody could have almost 60 days and we've still done our we're still
Yeah.
doing our best effort.
Right.
It's just that initial meeting to tell you that there is a challenge doesn't
Yes.
happen from,
I think that's a good idea.
oh, sorry, but that's.
no,
Yeah.
you're
No, I
So
get
we're gonna
it,
word the initial kind of CNO meeting.
or,
I have, within 30 business days following the initial CNL meeting, scheduling meeting.
The initial,
The-
initial
Where-
schedule.
just
Where
what
scheduling
was
took place.
discussed.
yeah, we're
Because we
scheduling.
probably won't schedule schedule it at that meeting because
Where
the
the,
challenge
Where-
about scheduling is that we're trying to get all of the people. So I can get your
Right.
availability, but then I still have to go back.
Right.
The
Correct.
initial,
That
you
was-
know, meeting.
Well, we're trying to do it something,
Yeah.
but that was
okay, so I
my
have, I
least favorite activity that we've done recently.
yeah.
Okay, yes.
think I have a good,
I tried my best.
Okay,
It's
so
okay, it
that's,
was all good. It's all
but I
good.
think those changes need to be
Oh,
added.
I did have on here, do we want to, I think having challenger clarifies it, but do we wanna just say parent/caregiver, or do we wanna keep with challenger? I
think
kinda
we were-
debate a little, I don't know.
I think initially we were trying to not make, I understand it can be an adversarial process, but it really
Right.
wasn't challenge, it was reconsideration.
Yeah, I know.
And so I
So do we-
think trying
oh,
to,
we did talk about that.
yeah,
Should we take challenger
I
out,
would
put
take
parent/caregiver?
challenger out, yes.
Cause challenger sounds so.
Well, it just helps clarify
Yes.
Because the rest
in
of
your
it,
mind, but you're not trying to be adversarial, it's just like trying to like get through the
It
wheels.
does sound adversarial, but it was in mine, so I can
Yeah.
understand.
So
it's-
instead parent/caregiver, okay.
It's more adversarial.
Well, but it just helps think it through a little bit better. I mean, I would love like a bullet point process instead of some of the paragraph written things, but I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, but I do appreciate the clarity
Yeah.
around these, this makes it, I can
Yeah,
see, yes, because what I do is then sit down and like outline, okay, here are my steps on my timelines.
Right. And then, so we're on the, are we on
The last page?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do we like challenge meeting, because that might, reconsideration meeting? Yeah,
Well, that's really what you're doing, is
Softer,
reconsidering a
reconsideration
resource.
meeting, I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
got it.
think that was the goal, and I
Okay.
don't think we've gotten more adversarial since then.
No, it was just to clarify, because,
makes
well,
sense to
it says challenger earlier,
well,
I
it says
think.
it on the procedure
Yeah,
itself, so
it's-
this is,
Yeah, it said it earlier, I thought,
yeah.
or no, it just challenged supplemental,
No, the
Yes.
very first paragraph,
cause the
second sentence, challenges will be limited.
but the title of the procedure is challenges to supplemental.
That.
Well, let's debate it a little, we'll
We can change it,
Yeah.
Well,
So to be fair, full disclosure.
Yeah.
but then you gotta change,
Yeah,
I'm
was,
just telling you
that's,
full
did we
disclosure, cause
change
I was
it?
there at the beginning.
okay,
Yes.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it was reconsideration.
Okay,
And then I remember having conversations with Leah,
Leah.
and he was like, well, I don't know what reconsidering, because we're actually challenging the fact, you know.
okay,
Yeah,
So she
sure,
actually
that
said
is,
challenge.
that's a good
So
point.
for
Okay,
me,
that's true.
it doesn't matter.
Rewind the
It
tape.
was just, I was kind of going with the flow, like,
Yeah.
okay,
rewind
you
the
know,
tape.
Yeah,
so that
Well,
you're challenging
It
it.
is,
But I don't like the wordage of challenger.
so either
I don't
way,
like
we
that
need to
word.
Yes.
streamline
I
it
don't like that
more.
word.
Okay,
Again,
We need
that's
to
where the-
streamline it,
adversarial piece comes in.
so, and I don't have any recommendations to policy change, this
it's
is
just to keep it
procedure.
consistent, is what I
This is a
want.
procedure.
Cause in the exhibit, for example, it says where the form they fill
The
out
form
says
says request for reconsideration, so we would have to change a wording on that, like to
Yeah.
challenge.
I
right?
like the, I don't know,
Well,
my gut
okay,
says
let's-
reconsideration, but.
Alright.
Change it back.
Yeah, we can change it back. Amy like.
There was a
Okay.
suggestion first time around to go, okay, that sounds good.
Are
Well,
we-
Just like
I
that.
kinda,
Okay.
yeah.
Is there,
it is
Good
being,
discussion.
it is being
Are-
reconsidered.
Do we,
Yeah.
are we gonna change it?
I
Because then we
I
gotta change it
think
on
because I
policy.
wouldn't want a parent to feel like adversarial, like I think it, you know, it's their right to challenge,
So we
reconsider.
can put reconsideration to supplemental. right?
Yeah, and then we have to change it in policy.
Then we have to change it in policy then.
Yep, okay, so there's some
Well,
work
Going
there.
back.
Well, the other
Oh, I got
form
it.
that the
I
parent,
got
I don't wanna make more
Leah's
work.
gonna
the
like
form that
flip
the other
over.
parent fills out though
If she's
is
watching, sorry.
Yeah, sorry,
That is
Leah.
yeah, yes, no, I don't plan on changing the form.
needs to be
Okay,
changed.
so we're changing it to
reconsideration.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull out the policy now,
We're just gonna change the name.
and I'm gonna go through and strike all places
Sorry.
where it says challenges
To reconsider.
to reconsider.
And when it says challenger, we wanna put parent slash
It's a
guardian.
challenge,
No, you're good.
but you're
Pick
asking
one,
to
pick one
reconsider.
lane. So I have one
I don't know,
clarification.
I felt like it was that granola.
And then we're
bar.
changing the
It
word
might be my
challenger
blood
to.
sugar that's impacting my.
I have
You're acting like Betty White right now.
I have two things, David. There's a bullet point on page 2
Yep,
that needs to be pulled down. It says or bullet point agreed
Oh,
on. It's on the top third of it. It says the teacher
Oh, I see it.
instructor. You just
It's
have
just
to
a
like,
little typo.
it's just a little, like, we'll catch it next time and
Sorry,
clean
not
it all
seeing
up.
it, not seeing it.
Middle of the page,
Right here,
the bullet.
there's a bullet,
Needs to be drawn.
Oh,
like,
Oh,
just
yeah.
return, you know,
Got it.
enter and then,
okay,
Just
I-
needs to be
you know,
drawn.
and then the other
Enter.
thing I wanted to talk about, it says if the teacher and or administrator cannot attend, the school,
Administrator will provide a written
Yeah.
response.
yeah, the committee has the opportunity to ask relevant questions regarding the location and use of the supplemental educational materials. Meetings will be publicly posted and open to the public, okay, so, or we might move this up, but
Well, I
if-
think that's a good, this is my thought, and you discuss it however you want. I think that it's good that, let's say somebody is in Europe.
Mhm.
And the only time we can schedule this is when they have a 2 week.
Right, we're not gonna drag it out,
You know,
yeah.
just let them write something,
Mhm.
meaning the administrator, let them write something because they're in Europe and let them go on their vacation.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I agree with it, I just wanted to clarify the wording at the end,
Okay.
what was I gonna say? Provide a written response to the curriculum and learning committee, which will include, this is just me, you know, thinking out loud, which will include a rationale for no removal action, because that's what they did before,
oh,
something like that.
Sure, so that's them, giving them the
Explaining
opportunity
what
to
the
explain
written-
why they
That's what
chose
we
not
should
to
just say,
remove the material.
and submit a written
so they.
Well, I just wanna clarify what the written response is.
Yeah.
Got it?
So I had like
Already-
rationale for no removal action.
Written, they would have had to write a response.
Right.
In order to trigger this process.
True.
The opportunity for this process.
So maybe
Okay.
So they maybe, would it be the opportunity to submit any additional
Okay.
materials in
Thoughts.
addition to
Okay.
their
Yeah.
initial response?
Yeah.
Because I don't know that they
Initial.
necessarily would,
Yeah,
depending on
Wouldn't
how they
always have
wrote
any.
it, they might not feel the need to.
or maybe we say like the written response will stand or not, this is, you know, would,
Yeah.
you know what I'm trying to
I
say,
know,
like it will be included in this review along with
With
any
any
additional
In the app,
written
you know,
responses from the teacher or the principal.
So we provide that either way,
Mhm.
but yeah, if they can't come for some reason,
So I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like maybe we wanna
Because we don't
work
wanna
that out a
delay the
little bit.
process.
So we'll provide a
No.
written
No.
response.
You know, after reasonable attempts and then, yeah, I mean, we don't have that in there, but
So I get it.
well, I,
If the
yeah, I
teacher
tried
and
to be reasonable.
cannot attend
It's a
school
process.
I think
Yeah.
that this clarifies.
provide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I get-
however you wanna do that.
yeah,
Yeah, I get.
you guys work it out.
Or say the school administrator can provide all necessary, you know, all the
Documentation,
documentation or additional
rationale.
information
And just to be,
for the hearing, so we don't even have to say
Sorry.
written response, we just say they can furnish additional information.
Yeah.
If they can't
And so
attend in
then that's
person.
all encompassing, see, we don't have to like.
Yeah, I was just, yeah, I was
That
just
one would
thinking of like
furnish
clarifying
additional
that a little bit.
yeah, I wrote that. So just to be,
Like,
So I think you've already said
Will
it.
provide all documentation and any additional information from the building administrator or something to that kind, right?
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amy will work it out.
We'll come up. Cause I know what you're talking about, we're
Pertaining
gonna
to
have
the-
their
Pertaining to the
Information.
hearing or something like
Right.
that.
But like,
Minutes
like,
of
like,
the
we'll,
hearing.
we'll make it clear, you know what I mean,
So-
like, that's the biggest,
We're giving them an out that they don't have to be here essentially, you know, that's.
so
If,
the,
you know,
Negotiation or something.
all reasonable
I think-
attempts.
I think you've already said it, I just wanna clarify it, so the word challenges in all respects is gonna be removed to reconsideration.
Yeah,
Yes,
In the
I think
procedure.
so.
yeah, I like it.
I'm,
in the
like it.
procedure, but
And the
also
policy.
the policy, that was my question.
Yeah, it's gotta be streamlined, so
I
we'll
think it
just
should be
strike
the
it and
same.
what-
Okay,
I
so
think it should be
that's,
the same in both.
so that was my question, because
Yeah.
we haven't touched policy 871, but we can bring that back to the next meeting and just strike the
We have it,
word.
don't we?
Let me look for
Is
the
it gonna look-
policy again.
It's in here.
Add the policy.
There's a word challenges,
Yeah, there is, yeah.
and
So
it
that would
comes
be-
up a few times, I see once, another time I see twice, at least
It could be
twice.
reconsiderations, plural,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it could.
Okay, yeah, I
No, I can,
Oh, this is
I'm
selections, so
gonna make
maybe,
it harder now, but I,
well,
yeah, I don't know.
maybe,
What's-
I'm okay with
leave it
either,
to,
but
This is, There's a piece of it that makes sense to me where it says challenges here, but then the process I'm using is or what I'm doing as a parent is I'm requesting a reconsideration.
Yeah,
I'm not requesting to challenge it, I'm requesting please reconsider using this resource.
Right.
So I think there's a place where you could use both,
I wonder what
but I
PRG
understand that
says.
it might,
Yeah,
Would you want to keep
Ooh, if I had my computer, I
Challenges.
could tell you.
I don't think they do. I think I looked when we first got it.
I thought I looked too.
Yeah, I don't, most districts
I think it's
don't
easily
have them
substituted on this form, on the policy, I think it's easily just swapped out, reconsideration to,
I think isn't it one and the same, I mean, it's the same.
but challenges is actually a little bit more straightforward
It
and
is.
clearer.
I think there's an argument for making sure there's synonyms.
Right.
I mean, we're kind of using them interchangeably.
Yeah,
Correct.
semantics,
And we don't want anybody to be confused.
right.
Meaning board members, administrators, any citizen, parent.
And and like Leah said, it it is a challenge because you are trying to remove it for all
But I'm
students.
asking you to reconsider.
Yeah, the decision.
The form could say reconsider.
That's what I'm wondering,
And
if
then
the
the rest would
policy
say
would
all
still say challenge, and, but the
The form
procedure,
could
the
say-
form could say reconsideration, and when I post it
Yeah.
for whatever meeting, I would say, this is a a reconsideration meeting, or a
Slash
I know, we still have to work on how this is gonna get.
Well,
Posted,
this
but,
might be put a pin in it and then.
Got me, I just got a headache right there, so.
Yeah.
I think we're making too
Have
much
a
of
look
something
at
that's
Yeah,
so small.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave
The process is gonna work the same.
It'll come
no
to
matter
us.
what.
For now.
And then we'll get Leah's input from.
We're
I
just
was
fighting
wondering if
over
there was
words.
anything legally that
Yeah.
we needed to think about really.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that would be good to
I
ask her too.
think if I am remembering, it was just a preference.
So, yeah, it was just like,
It just, you,
And I was not
it was just a
good for
preference, that's all.
probably because she was annoyed with the whole process with us. Just like, we're gonna make a challenge.
You're like, okay, that
Alright,
was a
so,
good den.
I think I have duplicates of it,
Alright,
2 packets.
so,
so what I'm gonna do for the
Next
next meeting
Yeah.
is bring back less paper
Yeah, just
Better-
bring back the changes.
and no green,
and no green,
okay.
and things that are easily readable with respect to the color coding. But also a lot of PRG base with a lot of things that we
Okay.
discussed.
Yep.
So, there might be a lot less paper, but more streamlining.
Yeah.
For this committee, to look at, and I think we'll be pretty close. That's why I got quiet at some point. I was writing a lot of notes about materials and me leaving an E in instead of pulling out the ING. So, yeah, that was bad. But I will fix that and start working on it this weekend. Or actually, almost Sunday.
You mean right when you get home.
Okay, so we're looking at the next date?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it gonna be another joint
Yeah.
curriculum and policy?
I think
Yeah, cause we'll have to,
Yeah,
Action.
that way we can move it forward faster, yeah.
Yeah.
We can do that. And actually too, David, moving forward, I usually like policy meetings. Like if we can do the best of our abilities to have like the same time each month, like
Yeah, can we set that now, because we need
you know, the second Thursday of each month, so that everybody knows on the committee that it's every, to the best that we can.
How about the
Just
first
made it
Thursday of
easier.
next month?
such a good goal.
I don't like that every time we make,
Okay,
So Thursdays, can we
I know, but people.
How about the first Thursday of next month?
and me without my phone,
Nice try. I got that right away.
4th of July.
Uh-huh. That was
Okay.
strategic.
I didn't catch
That
that.
would be
Yeah,
bumped
yeah.
to the next week.
So, are we looking to set all of the meetings right now, or just the next initial meeting?
let's just do the next one, and
Okay,
then
and then
we can
See
kind
where
of
we
The
look.
next joint.
Yeah,
Yes.
So,
Thursday, July 11th.
what?
What?
That's like in 2 weeks.
Is that bad?
is that what you signed?
I'm just
Well,
saying.
I,
that's
no,
just-
I'm
I
headed
did
out
the
of town.
Oh,
with
okay,
that.
so
and
that
that's
doesn't work.
And then the week
Oh.
before,
So I won't be
I
here.
I like the
Here.
18th actually.
I like the 18th, let's do 18th.
Are you available?
I'm out of town.
Okay, what about the 25th then?
We have student services.
Yes.
On the 25th?
Yes, at 6.
How do I not know all of the schedules?
Cause you know,
Oh, that's
you
right.
have.
I would like to be.
Yeah.
Because
And
people
actually,
are
it's
telling me
that
that.
night.
I guess we have to look at the minutes.
So you would probably have to have Dan include you when they, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So as soon as
So why
services
not, can we meet, or what time do student services meet?
6.
Well,
We could
So
do
can
But I
we
think
meet
that
at-
was-
we could, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry, just thinking, we could meet earlier in the,
I
like
can.
earlier on the 11th,
Okay.
because I am working that day.
Oh, okay.
I'm just,
I am not
Okay,
available the 11th though,
okay.
so
okay, no problem. I
What
just-
about a little earlier on the 25th? Before student services?
Or what about the
I think
sixteenth
we
on
give it a
Tuesday?
2-hour cushion.
the
Oh, that's right here.
Sorry.
on Thursday, July 25th, I can be available before
Okay.
that.
Then we can
I
do
can do
that, and that will limit our.
How much time did we want to put into that to make sure that
That's
we're
gonna make a long night for you though.
every night's
Does that work for you,
Yeah.
Amy? 25th?
The 25th,
4
yes.
o'clock?
4 o'clock, yes.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, we're doing 4 o'clock?
Well, that's what, I don't
Can we
know,
do
because the
4:30?
next one, what time is your,
4:30?
Yeah.
We can do 4:30 policies.
and then the student services is at 6?
6.
Okay.
Have to give us an hour and
You
a
know
half.
what, just might as well do that then.
Yeah.
We're gonna be
Yeah,
here,
we
we
did
just
pretty good today, so.
might as well sit here forever.
So then we are gonna take a look at that.
It's, okay,
And we'll just-
4:30, July 25th. Okay, will that work?
4:30.
Tentatively.
Yes, thank you.
There's someone else on the invite, you sent an invite out again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can.
Thank you.
Yes, please,
Until
thank you.
August, I'm gonna have to put something because I have lots of
So,
college situations.
and then after that, we're gonna be splitting up and then doing separate CNL and
Mm-hmm.
policy, right?
Yes, yes,
Because this was just
chatting,
for
I
curriculum.
don't
25th.
have anything curriculum related that
Okay.
So
we need to meet
Thursdays
outside of
work.
this right now.
Okay.
Family council.
Okay.
When do
I
we
just
want
wanna
to,
do policy
do we
at
want
a
to
specific
schedule
time.
out?
Yeah.
Like my
It's
really helpful
That's fine.
to
Thursday
schedule
works.
out.
We could do David
Do
Thursdays.
you wanna wait till the next curriculum meeting to do it, or probably easier?
Yeah, I don't,
Okay.
I
What
don't
Thursdays do you
know
think we
that I'll
should pick
need
for
to have a
policy?
meeting before
This
I know.
second?
Okay,
I just don't, I mean, I've got.
if you want,
No,
to
I
send
don't
something out, I'm
want-
okay with that, but that sounds like a nightmare to.
I'm good with,
Let's not.
Second,
Let's just
you know,
wait till
like, the second Thursday of each month or something.
Okay,
Or the third.
Schedule for the, at least
Okay.
through the semester.
I'm good with,
so I will tell them, yeah.
Let's do the third. The third Thursday.
so but not,
When is.
okay,
We did not come to that conclusion because we did not have a consensus on schedule. So
We are.
darn it.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
can
We are,
hijack it.
I'm gonna hijack Thursday, so Thursday, let's pick a, do you want second or third?
No matter to me, I say third.
Okay, let's do third Thursday
For
of every
policy.
month for policy.
So are we
Oh, or at
locked
least
on
to
the,
take a look and.
The
if
25th,
there's
yes.
are we
something
locked
else.
on the 25th?
Correct, for
Or
July.
Zoom, yes.
Why?
I'm actually at a conference that day, but,
Okay.
You wanna,
Where
cause I
is
was
it
gonna
at?
have, I was, it,
do you want,
it's a legal conference about, it's a Title IX legal
Oh,
conference.
so do you wanna move it to,
And
do
Halverson is gonna be here Monday, so he was gonna do
What about the
student
Friday?
services.
Yes.
you wanna do the 26th then? July 26th?
Maybe earlier.
Earlier on a Friday?
I'm going out of town that day. That's
Yeah.
on July 26th.
Okay.
No, the
Then
conference,
Friday.
You wanna, huh?
the conference,
I don't wanna do a Friday.
Yeah,
The
I'm
conference-
not,
Early.
I'm not planning
Well, I
to
got
work
work.
that day.
Yeah.
I mean, I can,
And my
but
sister's
I
going
work
to
in
town
town.
that day.
okay,
Wait, you have a conference, but we're, oh no, you're not
Tuesday
at
the
student
20,
services.
oh wait, Tuesday
Let's
the
see.
23rd, did we have a?
Yeah, what about Tuesday the
But that might be-
23rd?
That has to be later then.
I can do Tuesday the
6:30.
23rd. Actually, I prefer it if it was like a little
Okay,
later,
you wanna move it to
6.
23rd,
I
have
can't
to
do it, I can't be here till 6:30. Tuesday
Oh.
the 23rd, but I could do 6:30.
That'd be late.
ladies, can you make the 23rd?
I'm okay with that.
Tuesday.
I can, Laura cannot.
Are we
Okay.
good? Isabella here?
That
Okay.
works.
At 6:30.
Yes.
Okay, so we're moving it now.
23rd.
Yes.
Please, thank you. And
I forgot my phone too, so.
and actually, I would
You don't
cancel
have to
the
do
the conference because but this one, in
Okay,
this
so it would be 6:30
You need to
then?
be
cycle,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tuesday then, okay,
Yes.
so July 23rd, 6:30, we've got that set, and then for
Okay.
policy, David,
let's pick the third
Thursday.
Thursday of
Time.
every,
What time? I'm, you're the one to determine the time, basically. 4:30?
4:30 or 5. Probably 5 would be the best.
Maybe we can tweak it as we go. Tweak it, keep saying that we're, like, revise it, but maybe to start.
Start with 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would that be
Starting, sorry, Dan.
at
I
5?
was just gonna say, would that be starting August
Yeah.
or March?
When is this, when are we starting?
August.
August 15th.
Okay, so.
So now you have a birthday or something?
It's actually my birthday.
Oh,
Okay, well, we're gonna make the
Third
exception.
Thursday's the best
We're
week.
gonna
No,
make
not that one.
That's.
We're gonna make the exception. We're gonna have it at Secaucus. No, we could bump it that month.
Birthday twist.
We could bump it that month
Okay,
to a
so
different Thursday. That's what, you know what I mean?
you want
do the-
third Thursday of every month at 5
Except
p.m.
Yeah, except for like third,
Except for August.
I may or may not, Okay, we can do the second Thursday in August,
Like the 8th.
just August, the 8th,
Just
and then
for
after that,
August.
the third Thursday. Wanna do that?
Sure.
At 5.
I'm like, sure, I don't know.
Okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
let's do that, and then after that, it'll be every third Thursday.
5 p.m. September through March?
Yep,
Sure.
so the
Yeah,
next one would be like the
Through
19th,
March, yeah.
September 19th would be the next one.
And then every third.
Yeah, because we don't really go into April for policy
And then we'll
meetings
move it
until
at-
after.
We'll move it as we meet.
And that's 6:30
No,
5
Five.
p.m.
5.
for policy.
correct.
See.
August through March.
Oh, what
It's
time is it?
6:30 on July 23rd.
And then the other one's at
Tuesday.
5.
Yeah, that's a different date.
I stopped writing things down.
No, I got it. August 8th at 5 o'clock is our first regular policy meeting. And then the 23rd is the follow-up to this meeting, which is
Correct.
curriculum and policy with all the
Joint.
updates.
Correct.
Okay, got it, and thank you. And just write that one down as well as put it in my calendar.
Alright, so we
Somebody say they're buying Sukasa, who was that?
adjourn,
Me.
Sweet.
motion to adjourn,
My motion.
I'll second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion is adjourned at 6:37.
Give me 1 second, I'll be right there.
Just like, and then